Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the March Slow Flowers member meetup. It's what a beautiful day out. It's a Friday. I'm really inspired to get out in my garden this weekend. I hope for those of you who aren't buried in snow that you're going to do the same thing. I'm Deborah Prinzing, founder of the Slow Flower Society, and we have, for those of you who are new, we have a monthly meetup the second Friday of every month. We started this during COVID, and it's just been a really positive way to connect with fellow slow flowers practitioners around the country, flower farmers, growers, and florists and designers and creatives. So we have a huge audience today, and I'm really excited. So we're going to go pretty swiftly. We have 5 special guests, actually 6, because we have a duo, a potter and a florist together. But we'll have 5 10-minute convos. And so you're welcome to put your questions in the chat, and Tonali and Nisha and I will keep our eye on it. Nisha's going to be taking down names for the drawing. We have 2 vases that are being donated, and that will be given away. So I'm excited about that. And let's just go right in and get started. I'll give you a little background just for fun. I'm going to post a link here that you can look at. I'll put it in the chat. But a few years ago, I guess in 2015, there was an article that really caught my attention in the New York Times called "Why Handmade Ceramics Are White Hot." And this whole story was about handcrafted small batch ceramics, how they're really resonating with consumers, but also creatives of all disciplines, that people were doing collaborations in the food space, in the home decor space, in the fashion space, and of course in florals. And it led me to declare for our 2018 Slow Flowers forecast that slow pottery was an insight and a kind of a happening trend that we all should keep an eye on. And obviously, many people have been doing pottery for decades, but all of a sudden it kind of resonated. And as soon after that story came out, and I'll put it in the link in a second, there was another story that came out in the New York Times also, with the headline was "Pottery is the New Pilates." And how funny that all was sort of happening before COVID. And then I think with COVID, people started to return to their craft, or just be more intentional about creating things, being makers. And then we have the supply chain issues and the shortages of COVID that a lot of florists found, with not being able to source vases, and people starting to question throwaway consumables. And all of a sudden, pottery has such a relevance in our profession. And so I thought it would be fun to invite some of our members who are doing really creative things, and it's a full range, to have you meet them. So I'm going to jump right in and have you first meet Kelsey Ruhland of Foxbound Flowers. And Kelsey was a guest on the Slow Flowers podcast last year. I got to visit her studio in Eugene, Oregon. And hi, Kelsey.
Me. Oh, come on.
Yeah, we hear you. Hi, it's so good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Well, some of us have seen the photos that you shared of your pottery on social media this week, because Nisha shared some of those. So why don't you just jump right in? We have 10 minutes to talk about your business. And you are a florist. You had a retail shop was it South Dakota?
North Dakota, yeah.
Yeah, and then you moved to Eugene, Oregon, and you started a kind of a retail business, but it's online, and so people don't necessarily walk into your shop. But talk a little bit about how that expanded to include pottery, and tell us what you're doing now.
Yeah, so when I started Foxbound Flowers, I wanted to build in sustainability from the get-go. So all of that would just be second nature, and it would just be part of the business. And I started looking at, so I'm sourcing product responsibly, but then I realized, okay, well, I have to think about where I'm sourcing my vases from. And so many vases come from China. I was trying to find vases that were made in the US. anything I could that just wasn't shipped from across the globe. And it turns out there's not a whole lot, as some of the other florists would probably would note too. There's not a whole lot of options. So once I narrowed it down to, okay, these are my options of vases that are made in the USA, I was kind of disappointed with what was available. And so Eugene is a community of artists. And so I was lucky enough to stumble upon some pottery classes. And there's this, there's kind of like co-ops or like a pottery studio that you can get a subscription to. And so I just started kind of doing that for fun, and then realized like, hey, this might be a good way to make vases. If I can't source the vases I want, I'll just make them. So I started taking a couple pottery classes, and that's kind of how I got started.
Can I just interrupt and say, you are a maker in many ways, not just in pottery. The things that you just decide how to MacGyver and hack together blow my mind. So you're making wooden containers as well for your flowers.
I am. This is also a town of a lot of fences, and so fences are constantly being torn down and put up. So my husband and I, mostly my husband, he does most of the carpentry work, but figured out how to reuse these cedar fence planks and make them into wooden boxes. And so the wood is free. People are just like, come and get it, take it. I don't want it. So we're doing that. And then I also recently started making cement vases and pots as well.
Well, show us what you've got there. You have sort of your signature color palette, don't you?
I do. Okay, so this is my most basic vase, and you can see I started with a cylinder because I wanted just a really simple and clean cylinder. And I found out through my own experience that a cylinder is a really unforgiving shape to make. So it's a lot harder than I thought it would be, but it seems that people don't really mind the flaws. They don't mind that it's perfect, that it's uneven.
Imperfect, yeah.
So people really like that. So this is kind of like my classic go-to. I make a lot of bright. I can put a lot of things in those, and they add a lot of punch, and they add a lot of color. And people seem to really like them. So that is kind of my go-to vase. I also have been experimenting with different colors in glossy and blue. I experimented with writing.
I thought that was really fabulous for a gift bouquet. I love that.
And then one that I recently experimented with that I'm going to try out is kind of a footed vase. And it's got some texture to it. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm starting with the classic, the teal cylinder, and then I'm just going to try to grow it from there.
These are hand built, right? You're not on a wheel. Is that correct?
Right. I started on the wheel. That's how I thought, like, I'll just start throwing things on a wheel. How hard can it be? It's really hard. I realized it would take me a lifetime to get good at that. So then so now I'm just doing hand building.
And so the vases are like roughly what, 6 inches in diameter, or what's your preferred size?
They're about 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a basic everyday bouquet size that you would have purchased a vase about that size for one of your standard basic vase arrangements.
Yeah, they're pretty versatile. I would say you can put anywhere from like a $50 to $125 arrangement in there pretty easily. And I do have some slightly larger ones if I want to make larger bouquets too.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about pricing? Are you comfortable talking about how you build that custom-made vase into the price of the arrangement? Do people have a choice to add on a vase?
Yeah, I let people choose the ceramic vase if they want. If they don't want that one, because it does add quite a bit to the price point, then they can just choose a glass vase. So people often do choose the glass vase. I don't know, it's kind of 50-50. About half of them choose the pottery and half of them choose the glass vase. So I would be interested in hearing from other people how exactly they price them. Since I'm not a potter, that's this is like a side project to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to figure out how to price them. So I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah. Tell us what you're charging now for that, like that basic teal 4.5 inch.
This one, I usually would add on 20. So I personally think they're still really flawed and they're really rough. So I charge 20, but yeah. I don't have a lot to compare it to either. So I don't know any other florists who are doing this. So I have no idea.
Yeah.
How close I am to.
Well, I'd be interested in hearing from the other, especially the professional potters who are joining us today. My feeling is that is a killer deal for a custom made vase. I'd love to know what other people think, but it's not like you're pricing them separately to sell as products or gifts on the website. You're always selling them with flowers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I'm encouraged. I think it's really great that you've found this way to keep it hyper local. You're going to this collective pottery studio in your own community. And how are you squeezing that into your time? Before we wrap up, I'm just curious, how do you balance that all with running Foxbound Flowers?
That part is really hard. I've been trying to get back in the pottery studio since Valentine's Day and been having a hard time finding a way to get in there. So it is really tough. And when I do get in there, I have to make the best of my time and try to crank out a bunch of stuff all at once because I'm not in there as often as I would like. So
yeah. Well, listen, this has been great. I want to ask one question from Debbie Middleman of Me Viva Designs, which is a great question, which is, do you rent your vases for events? Because that could be another channel of revenue for you to rent to other florists.
Sure. I have not considered doing that yet because I haven't had a quantity on hand where I could do that yet. I've been selling them literally as fast as I can make them. And so I don't have a collection to rent yet. Unless I can spend more time, get in the pottery studio more.
Unless you can clone yourself. I love it. Oh, I will. Since I've seen these vases in person and just the tactile nature and actually the imperfection is what makes them so unique, Kelsey. Don't be hard on yourself. It's like, we don't want cookie cutter things. We want that unique, hand of the artist. So, I think it's inspiring. We'll have time at the end for a few questions. So if you have any more questions for Kelsey, pop them into the chat and I'm going to go ahead and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll invite Holly and Anna. And Holly Lukasiewicz is the owner of Distric 2 Floral Studio in Omaha, Nebraska. Hi, Holly.
Hi. Hello, everyone. So amazing to be here today.
It's great to have you here. And you have a special guest who is your pottery collaborator.
Yeah. Anna Stoysich. Hi.
Yeah. Why don't you talk a little bit about your business and how you work together? I know you have a few slides you're going to share too.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and pull up some visuals to share with everybody. And we'll kind of go through them quickly. That way we can talk a little bit more freely and openly. Okay.
Oh, this is great.
Is that showing up okay?
Yeah, that looks awesome. And what a great photo of the two of you.
Okay. So this was from our first collaboration that we did together. It was Anna was having some of her work in a local art gallery. And so we had kind of reached out about being able to use a lot of local flowers in one of the vases that she created. And we'll get to a couple more photos of that real quick, but this is just a little bit about my work in floral design as Distric 2 Floral Studio. I call myself a sustainable Midwest florist with values rooted in the slow flowering practices. The Slow Flower Society has been so instrumental in my growth and my like learning and knowledge. And so I'm just so grateful that this community exists. Anna, do you want to share a little bit about your work?
Sure. So I am a painter and a ceramic artist, and I live in Southwest Iowa, so just across the river from Holly and Omaha. And I do a couple different types of work in ceramics, mostly electric fired ceramic work, which is featured here in that photo. It's more colorful. And then I also do a body of work that's in a wood kiln, and that creates more kind of rustic, organic, neutral looking aesthetic.
And Anna and I met, many years ago at a yoga class, but then kind of reconnected maybe a year ago, if that. And I think just our aesthetics were very similar in our value systems, in working with the land and working with local and seasonal as much as possible. So it was really exciting to be able to kind of like start having those conversations about what it might look like for us to start working together. And so this is the first example of these vases that Anna had created inspired by the Venus of Wellendorf. And I don't know if you want to share anything more about
These
that.
are amazing, you guys. Wow. Love the torso.
Those were fired in a wood kiln, and they're about 18 inches tall. So they're a pretty good size. And Holly actually had come over to my studio and saw these vases. And this was like when we reconnected with each other. And I said, gosh, if you ever want to collaborate, these vases will be yours to do your magic with it. So we had a great opportunity come up with Moonrise Art Gallery in Elkhorn, Nebraska, where they wanted to feature both of our work like that together. And they're also very much, they like to feature local artists and prairie, natural landscapes, things like that.
And it was in July. So, in the Midwest here, that would be like prime time for local flowers. And so super special to be able to have this sort of like blossoming, blooming, feminine figure. Because, there's just so much kind of wrapped up in that visual imagery. I think that, so that was one of our first collaborations. This winter locally, there's a large flower festival that happens each year in one of the churches here, the cathedral. So they pull in all these different local flower designers to create installations all around the church. And so this one, I used Anna's pottery pieces, probably 6 of them, to hold a fair amount of the flowers and grasses that are displayed as part of the installation. And because now we're in Midwest winter, I was really proud that all of the foliage and flowers that were used were local. So either they were dried. There is the flower farmer here who is growing bulbs. So the amaryllis featured are from a local flower farmer. Everything except for the clementines and kumquats were grown locally. But this, you can see one of the vases from Anna's that was used. Here's another part of the installation, and
those are little bud vases.
Oh, how wonderful. I see those.
And then this is another, and actually the little arrangement that is behind Anna and I right now is created in this vase right here on the screen.
I love that vase with the handles.
Okay. And then future forward, Anna and I are, the screen kind of, okay, here we go. We're working together Anna's creating vases, kind of like Kelsey's doing, I suppose, in a sense, but some cylindrical, really clean, elegant vases that will be used for weddings this summer and autumn. And so they'll be customized with the couple's name and the date of their wedding. And then on the bottom, it will have Anna's contact information as well as my information. So, and I'm offering this as part of their wedding package right now, just because I want them to be able to have like a special keepsake of that work, because a lot of the couples I work with are very intentional in wanting to support local and just sustainable value systems. So yeah, well, that's kind of what we're working on for the future here. And I'm going to go ahead and stop share so we can talk a little bit more freely.
Oh my gosh, this is so inspiring. I love the intentionality of two artists who really feed off of each other, and kind of you realize that you both have the same, values for how you are in community, but you're true to your own aesthetic, but they're so complementary. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, I know like Kelsey was saying earlier of like finding that right price point for custom vases. And that's something that like Anna and I have been working out too, of like, I think what have been thinking about is like tying in a little bit of extra fees here and there to cover the cost of the vase, as you would for offering any other service that you would with florals. That way, Anna can be paid for her time and skill set, and
right.
Yeah.
Right.
For these.
On the wedding package, though, is that like almost like a line item that this is a kind of an add-on that the clients are selecting, so they know they're getting these keepsake vases?
Well, and that's a good question of like, and we did talk about that too, of like, maybe that's something that I offer them. But I also like want them to have Anna's pottery. So I like also want them to like just receive it, with the bridal bouquet in it. Like that's the special thing that they then get to keep as kind of like a gift. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. And also you just need a few of these weddings that you have photography from, and then that becomes something you can both share on your websites, and it'll just take off because it'll become something that is unique to both of you.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Holly. You're donating one of Anna's vases for our giveaway. So it's from her prairie flower ceramic collection.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. I checked it out, and
it will look similar to this, but have a different prairie
flower
step on it.
Oh, gorgeous. All righty. And we all might be ordering online anyway. So
for sure.
Great. Andee Zeigler owns 3 Sepals, which is really, you're both a florist and a potter, as I understand it, right?
Guilty. Yeah.
Introduce us to 3 Sepals. We can tell you're in a pottery studio.
I am in my pottery studio. So I'm a realtor by trade. That pays the bills, which allows me to have some free time to do other things. And we have a half an acre in Portland, Oregon. And I'm an art major. So I've been doing, I'm just a maker across the board. I've been doing pottery for about 5 years now. And we've just been growing food for the most part on our property for ourselves. And then we have a really big front yard that's full sun and was just sort of dead grass. And I had a lot of guilt around planting and using those resources for flowers. And then when COVID hit, I was like, you know what? The whole neighborhood needs a giant bouquet. So we're just going to plant the whole front yard as a giant bouquet. And I started giving flowers away. So on Saturdays, we put, during the growing season, we just have a stand in front of the house and we just gift market bouquets to our neighbors. And, it's like just kind of growing. And now I on average, it's somewhere between 25 and 35 bouquets a week. And I haven't quite wrapped my head around how, or if I want to focus on like income from that, because I just don't want the pressure of that to kill the joy of gardening for me. So, I'm just sort of, my focus is more on the pottery part of it, and the flowers just kind of come for free. So I also started looking at vases, and like as I was gifting these bouquets to clients and just fellow realtors and people in my community, that there are not a lot of good options out there for buying vases in bulk, and they don't necessarily hold the flowers in the way that I wanted them to hold the flowers. I really wanted something that replicated what it looks like when you're holding the bouquet in your hands, and like keeping the flowers in that like handheld cluster that then falls open at the top of your hand. And that is like literally impossible to find. And so I just started making them. So these are hand built.
Okay. This is one that we used the photo from your website on our social media. Oh, It's so nice to see you hold it, because I'm getting a sense of the scale.
So this one is about 19 inches.
Okay.
They're very big. And the other thing that I noticed I grow a lot of tasseled amaranth. And in the first year that I was growing those, I realized that there are no vases intended to hold them. And if it is a tall vase and you put a tall flower in it, it's just going to tip right over. And so I was like dropping rocks into the bottom of vases and putting bricks in this, like trying to figure out how to display these big dangly bouquets that weren't going to tip over. So I was like, oh, I can hand build these and give them a heavy bottom. So they're pretty thin at the top, pretty delicate. And then the bottom is weighted. So you can do like just a really massive.
That's amazing. And you're right. Those are so hard to arrange with.
So hard.
So hard. The narrow neck also holds them upright, right?
Yeah. So I used my hand. I was like, how will this look when I hold a bouquet?
That's brilliant.
Intended to replicate holding the bouquet. And then these petals just, let it fall open.
So creative.
Without going like all the way open. So those are my hand built ones. These are super labor intensive. It's like not an easy, I usually take over the dining room table and make like a few at a time, because my studio space is really set up for throwing. So I also do hand thrown, or like on the wheel. These are all the ones behind me besides the white ones are wheel thrown.
I love the glaze.
Just like a little bit of a gather spot and then fall open. I just dropped like 100 pieces off at the kiln, and I had hoped to have them back for this, but I don't. So, but they're going to be similar to this size, or similar to this shape, but they're taller. They're like maybe 10 to 14 inches tall, and a little bit smaller gathering. This series is this aqua gemstone color. And then there's the next batch that's at the kiln right now is, maybe I can show you, they'll be like, they'll be more this color.
More of a moss sage color.
Yeah. I also found that, I'm sure that other florists agree with this, that if a lot of vases are like bright colors or lots of colors, and then when you put, they totally distract from the flowers. So I was just like, aesthetically, flowers, I feel like look best in earth tones, neutrals, greens, things that like replicate the color that they're already in. And then obviously the aqua gemstone, just because it's like, a wonderful color.
Yes, it's that there's definitely kind of that nod to foliage and what a foliage palette would be. What is your market for selling the pottery? I'm just curious. Are you selling those online or through other retail shops? Or
I just made a website actually.
Okay.
And I just got to the point where I was like running out of room on my shelves, and like realizing that I actually do need to part with all of these, because it's like I have, I don't know, probably 300 vases now, which I do not need. So
All
I
right,
need
I'm going to call you when I come to Portland and have a little private shopping spree.
anytime. Yeah, so it is an offer to my fellow realtors to buy vases from me with bouquets as closing gifts for their clients. So that's one way that I'm
That's
doing
lovely.
it. I would love to like have a connection with a florist and do like small batch, like, 20 pieces, or, like the thing about throwing them on the wheel, once you have a shape that feels good and holds the flowers in the way that somebody wants to have them held, it's not hard to just replicate that. Like, I'm not a production potter, so they wouldn't be exactly the same, but basic size and shape and glazing could be cohesive amongst a set. And yeah, I don't want to be a production potter. I just like
you're an
making what I
artist.
want to make.
And one of our attendees is just commenting about what so smart to partner or offer this to realtors, because that's something that, most people give a bottle of wine or something, and you're giving them an opportunity to really highlight a local artist and local flowers.
Yeah.
And that's lovely. And that's your niche. Like, you're the realtor potter. I'm so happy to hear your story. I think we're all going to come over to your website and see, since you have a new website, you have some of these styles on the website for sale.
I have some pictures on there. I have, when this batch, I have a friend who's an amazing photographer, and she is coming over at the end of the month to do like a proper shoot so that I can have like actual purchase now buttons on there. Right now, it's just like inquire, and I'll send you what I have. Because I don't know how to use the internet well enough to make a website. So I have somebody younger than me coming to help me get those purchases.
Well, I look forward to highlighting that. I'm really inspired to do a whole story about all of the potters and florists who are on this Zoom call, so we can see more photography and dig a little deeper than the little 10 minutes we're allocating to everyone. So Andee, it's so great to meet you, and so fun to see what's behind you and what your hands have created. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Sarah, Nayani,
Mm-hmm.
is that how you say it?
Perfect. Nayani. Yes.
Nayani of Grow Girl Seattle is she's got a few slides to share with us. So tell us a little bit about Grow Girl Seattle, and how did you get involved with your friend Jury, who is Jury Hong of Rio by Jury, is the potter, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I started growing flowers in 2020, like many people, and just filled my whole house and sidewalk and driveway with garden beds. And I started selling them locally, and then started adding in flowers from other local growers, and just have met so many cool people through doing this. And during that, I followed this potter Jury, and I'll just show you a few things that really got me like interested in her work. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
And and let me interrupt. You're on Bainbridge Island, right?
I'm just in Ballard.
Oh, you're in Ballard. Okay.
Yeah.
And is she local to you?
Yeah, she lives near Sandpoint.
Okay.
So yep.
So
and
for non-Seattleites, that's just a popular in-city neighborhood. So of course, I'm wanting to know how close that is to me. Sorry.
Totally. I love it. So I just followed her on Instagram, and she made things like this beautiful, this is a hand-built stoneware fruit basket bowl. And these are some of her candle holders. And I just really love her aesthetic. It really aligned with the kind of, just beautiful natural look. These are some mugs that she makes, and then some plates and other things. This is a fruit bowl. But I just reached out to her on Instagram. We were Instagram friends first. And I said, Jury, would you make me some vases? I love your aesthetic. Just anything that you want. I want it to be like artful and inspired by nature. And so she came up with these tree trunk vases, which are so cool.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I love them.
I feel so lucky that, I got to work with her on this. And I think it's kind of cool because flowers to me do actually look like a tree, sort of a tree coming out of a tree trunk of the vase at times. And so I really loved the concept she came up with. And this was my very first year of like floristry. This was 2021. So these designs aren't my total aesthetic right now, but we did like a flash sale where we had like a limited batch that she made and we sold the flowers. So these were the photos we used for like the email blast. And then here's another one, if I can switch this sort of like red concept. And we were using all local flowers from Seattle Wholesale Growers Market and a few like hellebores and things from my garden. And then once we sold them, these were some of the creations that I made. That was about a month later. So there were more flowers available. And I started to kind of get the movement a little bit more at this point. It's kind of fun to look back on old work and just see how much it's changed, but I got more comfortable working with the shape and I really liked using the jasmine to create some movement.
Love it.
And there's just one more. And then she also created, these are water drop vases over on the right-hand side. And then her little bear vases that she made as well. And the reason I was a little late this morning is I just went out and snipped some hellebores and took these photos because I forgot to show her other vases. So I just wanted to show these. And then this is the water drop vase that I haven't completely done a sale on yet. I have a few more of these, but that's one of the ones we can give away if you'd like to.
Oh, Sarah, that's great. Wow.
So yeah, and I'll just add, you know, for me, it was really special to meet someone else local that was a creative because I switched careers to pursue flowers. And, you know, at the time I didn't know a lot of people yet. And so one of the best outcomes for me is becoming friends with Jury, and our husbands love each other. You know, they just had a baby. So now, you know, we just recently got to go over and meet their baby Alice. And so it's been really fun getting to know like another local creative and kind of work off each other. And then this summer she's building candle holders because now I'm doing more like weddings and events. And so she's building all the candle holders for a lot of my weddings that are coming up, which will be fun.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Sarah, I'm so impressed. I love it. This teardrop vase is really cute. And thank you so much for donating one of those for the giveaways.
Yeah.
I think I saw the little small candle holders in one of your earlier slides. It's like a small footed disc, right? That you'll have in your inventory and you'll just rent them for events.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do is exactly like you said. I have some of her pebble ones that are round. I'm going to get some of those and then some of the flat footed ones with the little lip. And so I'll buy those from her and then just have that as my inventory for clients to use if they'd like to add that on to their floral package.
Okay, so that's good because a nice segue to a question we have from Jennifer Couvant about pricing for your collaboration. Are you buying direct from Jury and then paying her and then she's done, or are you doing like a revenue share, or how do you structure that, if you don't mind sharing that?
Oh yeah, sure. At first I just did it as a direct purchase from Jury. So the first two sets that we did, the tree trunk and the water drop vase. And I think now we know each other, we've worked together, we're friends. We would probably do some sort of like split or something. But what I did is I just priced it at her retail price of what she would price it for, and then just added my normal price for that size of arrangement. So it was certainly more expensive than if you just get a normal vase that I might pick up somewhere else. But people were really excited about the local artist aspect of it. And they sold out really quickly, even though I was a new designer. And I still have customers that when I was posting about the Slow Flowers meetup that were messaging me and saying, oh, I have one of Jury's vases. I use it every day. I love it. And so it just makes me really happy that it's an ongoing thing that people put on their shelves in a different way than they would like another flower delivery.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I was putting this meeting together, I reached out to some longtime Slow Flowers members who have a retail flower shop, and they had done a collaboration with a local potter before COVID. They basically came up with they gave me permission to share this with you all. They came up with a design that was unique and kind of a two-piece vase with a lid. And they went to a local potter and commissioned it and asked the potter to make them a limited edition. And then they sold them in their shop. And then something kind of crummy happened, and they saw that the potter was selling those vases on her site as if she had designed it. And it was just an awkward situation. And our members said to me, we know we didn't handle this well. And we know that we were a little bit green in terms of establishing good communication to, determine who owns this design. And so they told me I could share that with everyone. And their advice is just if you're going to do a collaboration that's truly like a unique new product, get it all spelled out. So it can be maybe, as you were saying, a revenue share. In this case, you kind of gave Jury the assignment to create something unique for you. And you were able to purchase from her at wholesale. And then you were able to basically price those at retail. Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's right. And so basically we didn't do it exclusive. So obviously, she can sell more tree trunk vases separate from any collaboration. I just was excited about working with a local artist and then also being inspired by whatever it is that she came up with. I just find, especially with artists, and I'm sure other florists on the phone can agree, when people give you license, maybe a color palette or something, but you kind of get to create in your style, I think it comes out the best. And so I was really excited about that. But yes, it was at a retail price and I bought it from her wholesale.
Yeah, that's good feedback. Okay. So fabulous to meet you, Sarah, finally. And
thank you so much.
I am hoping that I get on your mailing list so I can find out about these pop-up sales. I'm going to go ahead and let's get Katie back on and let's make this work, Katie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yay. I'm so sorry. Thank you for your patience. We're trying to make this work. So thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. And Katie, please just introduce Seed-on-Hudson and talk about your new foray into pottery.
Yeah, no, it's so I have a business called Seed-on-Hudson, and I am a flower farmer in Hastings-on-Hudson, which is about 30 minutes north of Manhattan. I come from a 25-year corporate art auction background. So I did a transition during 2020 and went into complete full-time growing and have a homegrown nursery, and then moved into cut flower farming and sales last year. So ceramics is something I did in my previous life. I threw my first pot in 1990 and came back to it. It's about 18 years since I've thrown on the wheel, and I'm kind of coming back to all the things I loved years ago and really passionate about creating. And I wanted to create vessels that I could pair with my flowers. And I love the sustainability of it. I love the fact that, you can gift them, you can keep them and cherish them, or you can break them down and reuse them. Everything about it I really love. And it's just another creative outlet for me to kind of go into. And I don't have a home studio per se. This is my, I'm just dabbling back into it, but I have a studio down the road that I throw out a couple hours a week, and I'm just starting off. And hopefully we'll offer some for sale alongside my flowers this year.
So similar to what Kelsey said, she found a studio that you rent by the hour or something like that, or you are able to use it when you need it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so are you throwing on the wheel or are you doing hand built?
I am. I'm doing both. I'm throwing. So this is a thrown piece.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
That would be sort of a short centerpiece. I'm also doing hand building. I'm from Los Angeles originally, so I'm a Californian, born and raised, but I was back visiting my family for the holidays, and there's this incredible Scandinavian design exhibition at the LA County Museum. And I was walking through and I got really inspired by all the rattan, all the caneware chairs. And I love texture and I love form. And so I literally stole one of my husband's chairs and I took it apart. And so this is like one of my newer pieces that I'm working on. That's like, it's a hand-built piece, but using other materials or replicating. I just love mixing medium with ceramics. So something that doesn't look like ceramic, but is like another material. I like kind of playing.
It's
with
like
things
surface
that.
design almost, the way you've pressed that into the clay into the rattan.
Yeah, it still has its former in it. So sorry, it's not fired or glazed yet. But I'm focusing in my previous life. I did a lot of like raku, and I did a lot of like color, and now I'm focusing more on form and texture. So primarily using like a white glaze. Also, like my
Hold that one up again. Is that hand built?
This is thrown too.
Oh, it is. And then you carved it to create that pattern.
Yeah.
Right.
And these are some of my pansies. We don't have a lot growing yet in New York. So just the pansies in my tunnel and some hellebores that have started popping up, and a little eucalyptus that tends to do well in the tunnel.
Well, I love that you're bringing back something that had been on the back shelf for so long in your professional life. And now it's integrating so perfectly into the plants that you're growing and the bouquets you're selling.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I'm trying out other things too, like making flower frogs, just experimenting with different things. So, something to put in, everything floral related I'm trying out right now and just experimenting. So it's early days, but having a lot of fun.
But Katie, you have a CSA, right?
I do. I'm offering one this year. So
the vases could be a natural extension of that.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm still working through sort of how I'm going to launch that, but that will be coming up soon.
I love it. Well, I'm excited to see where this takes you. And I know you're just at the front end of getting this launched. And I'm so glad you joined in, because it shows everyone that jump in. If you have access, if you're interested and you have access to a wheel or a pottery studio, maybe you want to do the hand-built direction. This is a way to differentiate yourself. I mean, what were you doing for vases prior to this? I guess that begs the question.
Yeah, just your standard glass vases, different kinds of bottle forms. I use a lot, so I'll use gem jars. I'll use, formal glassware. I try and reuse as much as I can. So
yeah, wow.
Yeah, it was glass predominantly.
I'll put all of our makers on the screen, and we'll just maybe have a few rounds of questions. A few comments that came through, I think I'll just throw out and see if there's a suggestion or comments or reactions from our creatives. Amber Flack from Little Acre Flowers said, we collaborated with a local potter a few years ago on a small batch run of custom made vases. We had her put a stamp on them with our logo to distinguish them. Maybe just another suggestion if you're going the custom made route. And that kind of sounds like what you guys, Holly and Anna, were doing with the wedding one. So what you said you're putting information on the bottom of the base. Is it stamped?
It will be sgraffitoed. So I do a technique where I'm using a red clay body with a white slip that goes over the red clay body and then scratching through that.
And it'll say your studio information and District 2 Floral. Wow, that's great. That makes sense. I did see a note from Debbie Debbie Middleman saying she has done direct purchase for a commissioned order. I'm assuming direct purchase from a potter, and then used those vases in workshops or sold them as part of arrangements. So she's kind of acquired an inventory and then either kept them in her inventory for events or sold them as, kind of the way Sarah's doing, like a bouquet plus vase. So that's great. Andee, how about you? Anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I would. There was a question in there about taking commissions. I that is interesting to me. Like, I would be interested in a collaboration. I still, like I said earlier, don't fully want to wrap my head around running a business of flowers and vases yet, maybe in my next lifetime, but definitely collaborating on vases with other florists is of interest to me.
Yeah, I love it. For your point of entry was creating something to hold the flowers you were giving away. So you're like the accidental entrepreneur.
Pretty much. I mean, I already have a job. So I was like, I don't really need another job, but I can't stop myself from making, and I can't keep it all.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, this has been so much fun. I really am. I'm just so glad that we got all the talented folks on the screen to really share what they've what they've done with their flowers and their pottery. And I thank you all so much, especially for taking the time to join us on camera, showing us your pottery, showing us your flowers, and talking about your collaborations. I think this is something that is going to inspire a lot of people to pursue their own relationships and their own, either their own work, like Katie, picking up the potter's wheel again, or finding someone the way some of our florists have, to, you know, the way Holly has partnered with Anna, the way that Sarah has partnered with Jury. I think it's really, it's like a marriage. I mean, in terms of finding someone you can collaborate with. So I hope it's positive for all of you. And I want to just end by mentioning a couple of things. We actually have our Slow Flowers Summit coming up on June 26th and 27th at the Bellevue Botanical Garden. And when I started promoting this slow pottery workshop, the director of the Bellevue Botanical Garden emailed me and said he's involved with a local pottery studio just like a few blocks away from the botanical garden. And he said that they would be happy to make vessels for our presenters to use in their presentation. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm going to have to try to follow up on that and see if these local artists want to do that, but won't that be fun? It's sort of inspired by the topic here. So if you've signed up, we'll see you at the summit. We're going to start doing some more promotion for registration with a few special promo codes coming up at the end of March. So keep an eye out for that. I'm really thrilled that we'll have this collaboration between flower farmers, floral designers, and creatives throughout the whole summit. And I'm really inspired by today because I think it's going to help me think in a new way. Honestly, the vessels that have been used have always been an afterthought. And now I'm feeling a little inspired. Well, I'm definitely inspired to do something differently and just see that this is an opportunity to telegraph sustainability and talk about artisan, local, and sustainable work. And it's just, I think it makes the flowers elevated when we do that. So we will see you all next month in April. Our meetup will be on Friday, April 14th. I don't have the topic 100% ready to go, but I think it will be 3 experts on a panel similar to what we did today, so we can start hearing from more people. But if any of you have any ideas or suggestions, please reach out, shoot me a note, Deborah@slowflowers.com, and we will, we're looking for ideas. So otherwise, the video replay of this will be shared probably next week. And I know that we had a ton of people sign up who couldn't make it, so there'll be people waiting to get that video. In the meantime, have a wonderful weekend. We're almost to spring, folks, so I'm sure you're as excited as I am. Thank you so much, and thank you to our speakers, Kelsey, Katie, Holly, Anna, Andee, and Sarah. You were so generous with your time and expertise and your beauty, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.